Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joel, and this is the O2 Drop. This is WA's VGC podcast coming from Perth, home of Australia's smallest and most succulent regional championship. The last 2 weeks have been an absolute shit show for the season, and I have assembled a crackpot team of individuals who are going to discuss the incredible changes that have happened. So today I am joined by Mark.
Hello, TPCi fucked us.
Chris.
You know when they say, like, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed? I'm angry and disappointed.
Ethan.
What else can I say except succulent? Jesus, Joel, I'm sorry.
Is that straight off TPCi's new single to their fans?
Yeah, to their fans.
To their players, yeah.
You know crackpot crew is a bad thing, right? You just, like, call us crackpots.
I assume that was intended.
I mean, we are the best and the worst in this room.
We are a crack team, and we are a bunch of
We are
crackpots.
the team of all time.
Dan Baguli is also here. Is he the best or the worst?
He is the Danest of all time.
Yes.
Okay, so we touched on last episode that there has been a change to the VGC circuit where VGC locals are now going to be tied to leagues. This caused a lot of angst, which we discussed very briefly in our last episode, where apparently Americans and Europeans think it's the end of the world. However, here in Australia, specifically in Perth, we have anticipated this move for the last 4 years.
We've basically been doomsday prepping for
We've been doomsday prepping since the fucking pandemic, and we have been trying to link our VGC events to stores that have existing TCG and Go leagues operated by TOs that are, either managers at the store or staff at the store. So we have seen it coming. We are prepared. We are global leaders in this. The rest of the world is freaking out.
And like I know there's a lot of people out there saying that card stores ban VGC players and don't want them there. Like in comparison, our card stores love us and they donate door prizes to all our competitions and literally go out of their way to make room for us and open the store later or earlier or like. Yeah, it's just such a crazy. Maybe we're just our stores are conditioned for that, like the community to coexist. The rules are just to catch up. I guess that's the problem.
Yeah, I think one thing that we have done when we've worked with stores has been like, hey, you've got TCG on this day, we'll have us there as well, and you can have it as a Pokemon day to substitute. Instead of trying to work around Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and all the other things that these stores have going on. So. Yeah, we fucking rule.
And the stores take photos of these big events and put them up on their socials. Like they were taking photos at Cannington on Sunday of like the room was full of like players of all types. And it's good publicity for the store. I think they need to just adapt.
Also, as I've mentioned previously, VGC players basically pay a game store's entire week's rent purely through all the Red Bulls that we consume.
Yeah, and the store credit that we don't spend.
Yeah, some players in VGC WA have accumulated hundreds and hundreds of dollars of store credit, and they just don't spend any of it.
Including the best of us, Dan Baguli.
Including the best of us, Dan Baguli.
It's true. And genuinely, the store owners are starting to get concerned about the liability tab in their Excel spreadsheet, which is getting larger and larger. Liability, $1,300 in unclaimed store credit. Like that's
it's a lot.
Got to be concerning.
Just do your Christmas shopping there. I'm sure you could find something for the whole family.
Yeah.
I have previously used store credit to buy board games to give to family members for Christmas.
The last time that I had store credit, I bought a copy of Catan for my parents, and I don't think I've had more than like $20 in credit ever since.
See, apparently I like to get double penetrated by the Pokemon company. So I also play TCG. And so my store credit goes to, I save it up and buy a box of the new set that comes out for TCG because I'm an idiot.
Nice. I like it.
So you play TCG as well?
I have
So
CP across the board.
next year, you're going to be able to not make it into top 20 for VGC
I
and
can't
not make
wait
it
to
into top
miss
20
out.
for
Double
TCG.
penetration.
Yeah. No lube.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, I mean, I don't know if there's too much more to say on that little subject. WA fucking rules. Catch up to the rest of us world.
I think the furore, is the word right? The
Furore?
The furore has died down. Correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
The
It's died down
pandemonium,
because
the
it's been
hullabaloo.
overshadowed by
I was
even
going to
worse
say,
news.
in fairness, I think, that a lot of people realize, hey, this is actually far from the worst thing, especially because the BFL has been dropped to 4. So,
Well, let's
I
move
think-
on to the next subject
Yeah,
that we're going to
God.
discuss
Where do we
today.
even start?
Let's start with maybe the best part of the changes.
Okay, the pros. This is the pros column.
The pros.
And
So,
work our way down.
yeah. So there has been sweeping changes to the way that the 2025 season is going to operate. The first change that they have gone through is they have upped the points that they are going to give to everything that gives points. So the Global Challenge has an uptick on average of 121%. Regionals have an uptick of an average of 110%, and then internationals have an uptick average of 72% in the amount of points that are going to be awarded.
However,
However,
We
don't know much about locals yet, other than that the BFLs are going to be changed to 4 for cups and 4 for challenges.
BFLs being best finish limit.
and just
For those who are
should
not
we
aware.
explain to the VGC players, like that's the equivalent of the MSS's, the mid-season showdowns and all the other Premier Challenges.
Premier
Challenges.
Challenge, yeah.
Yeah.
So
those are all aggregated onto that total of 4.
4 of each.
4 of
Four
each.
of each.
So you
4
can-
cups, 4 challenges.
So we believe that the cups are still going to be 50 points, the old mid-season showdown, and the challenges, the old Premier Challenges, are still going to be. No, they've.
15, I believe. is
We
the rumor.
believe they're going to drop down to 15, but we don't have a proper clarification. on
We're
that.
not sure on that at this stage.
Yeah.
If you do the math, if you came first place for 4 cups and 4 league challenges, you would get 260 CP. You can maximum get from local events 260, which is not going to get
That's
you
from
in the
winning
top.
8 events.
Winning 8 events, maxing
Yeah.
your 4 BFLs for each.
Which on the face of it seems okay. Like people were sort of
Wait-
taking
wait for
advantage.
it, wait for it.
That's what I say on the face of it. So like people were farming and just kind of setting up way too many of these events through their local TOs and
3 in a day. And
sometimes, just sort of farming up CP for their world invites without ever having to go to a regionals. And so I think globally and generally it probably did deserve to be nerfed. And however,
However, there is a big change coming that we haven't seen in Pokemon since, I believe, 2015. And that is that qualifications are going to change to a top X qualification system. What do we mean by top X? We mean that each region and each age division has X invites.
Read them out, Joel. Read them out.
So for VGC in Masters, we are going to be limited to 75 invites for USA and Canada, 75 invites for Europe, 50 invites for Latin America, which includes Mexico and all the Caribbean,
and wait for it.
20 invites for Oceania, to Australia and New Zealand.
And I believe South Africa and Middle East gets 10.
0.
They get none.
They get none. They got the
Oh.
big. So TCPi, the Pokemon company,
No, that's right. We
International-
need to start calling them TPPI.
TPPi,
That'll show them.
have decided, fuck you guys, Middle East and South Africa. You get 0 invites for VGC.
You lose. Good day, sir.
And our close neighbours in Go, it's even worse. They only have 10 invites in Oceania.
Close neighbors and Go,
Let's-
it's even worse. They have negative invites
So
in the Middle East.
before we rant about this number, let's quickly put a disclaimer that there is a clause where if you win a regional level event or a special event, or you come top 4 in an international event, you get an automatic invite, and it does not come out of your region's capacity of X invite. So if all 4 of us in this room won a regional, there'd be us 4 going plus 20 other people from Oceania.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Plus at least 20 others. Yes.
So, Matt, but if you think about the fact that international players do travel to our regionals, and you think about the fact that even if it was Australians that actually won our 3 regionals, not all 4 of us can win a regional in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maximum we're looking at is probably 23 people, maximum.
Mm.
And certain people who are now irrelevant, such as Gavin Michaels, have decided that they're going to try and travel to Australian regionals to try and screw over Australia.
And I fully believe that they will.
I fully believe that they will as well. I think we will have Europeans at Perth regionals almost guaranteed.
Probably. I think traveling is going to massively increase for anyone who wants an invite.
So the big problem with Top X is that you don't know if you're going to Worlds until the cutoff date, which is going to be the 30th of June, 2025.
Until like NAIC, basically.
Yes.
Until the results of NAIC drop. Yes.
Yeah.
So
So in Australia, I believe after Hobbit got his invite, Zelda VGC, who is Sam Pandelis, was 20th at 373 points earned for the season. Now, we have done some rough calculations on what we anticipate to see in terms of the points required to receive an invite in Australia. Now, we anticipate that everybody who wants to go to Worlds in Australia is going to max out their local BFLs. So there's 260 points for everyone. Regionals have had their points changed so that if you finish in the top 32, which has a kicker of 65 now, you will get 125 points. It's a 108% uptick on what it was previously, which was 60 points. So minimum, the top 20 players in Australia all attend 3 regionals and they all get 125 points.
Yep, I think that's a fair
So
assumption.
375 plus 260, we are looking at 625 points, call it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the person who was closest to that in 2024 was Kieran at 679, and he was ranked 7th. Attended 2 regionals, got the big dub,
Mm-hmm.
and he maxed out his local BFLs as well. So then, more than likely, everyone who wants to get an invite is going to have to do the global challenge.
Which is an absolute nightmare.
It's a nightmare, best of 1. You only get 15 matches per day. So assuming you have
and you have to free yourself up for an entire weekend.
an
and so on.
entire weekend.
It's very time consuming, actually.
Yeah.
Trying to find the matches as well, and like waiting for them to load, and it takes hours.
Yes, it does. So assuming you have a mediocre performance in the global challenge and you finish in the top 256, you're going to net yourself 50 points for each round of the global challenge. And historically, there's been 3.
Is that 256 in your region or the world?
The world. The points are issued worldwide,
Yep.
minus Japanese, like minus Southeast Asia and minus people that don't have accounts linked. Okay, so there's another 150 points. So suddenly to get to Worlds, you have to do better.
800 and something.
You have to do better than Megan Rattle did this year, our 4th ranked Australian who got 770 points.
And she travels.
She travels.
She went to E EUIC.
EUIC, goes to New Zealand for special events.
She goes everywhere.
The thing, so like just so also we didn't clarify at the start as well with the BFLs. So the big events, the regional events, the special events, and the international events are pools. You get BFL of 6.
Yes.
What this basically means is that to almost guarantee yourself an invite, you pretty much have to. All the biggest players will attend all the international championship events because their payout, their CP payout is higher than a regional.
The CP payout is huge, and they've increased it as
they've
well.
increased it. So basically, if you don't attend international events, you are at a disadvantage. And what that means is that you are literally behind a paywall now. It is becoming a pay-to-win. I know this is a very controversial thing to say that it's a pay-to-win game now, but because you still have to be good at the game. I get that. But if you want a chance in Australia to finish in top 20, you have to travel overseas. I don't see any other way around it.
Yeah, for a chance.
Unless you win a regional.
So we have figured out that you need 800 points locally without attending any other events in any other country to have a chance.
And this is also another thing that I get really angry about is that they took away we used to have Oceanic International Championships here, OCIC. We had it in 2023. They took it away this year.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly not coming back, even though I've been petitioning on Twitter. Believe me, I have. I just don't see how they can set these lofty goals to top 20 in Oceania and not even give us an international event.
It is wild. The one saving grace is travel awards. So chasing travel awards was already super toxic because you had to play at the highest level all year, basically. And there were a group of Australians doing that, right? Like Kieran got a travel award at one point for his finish in one of they're thirds now. They're not even quarters because we've lost an OC. So before each international championship, the top 4 will get a travel award. That is more than the top 8. I think previously in Australia, it was just top 4 got travel awards. So now anyone over 18 gets $3,500 to travel to an international outside of their region.
Which is all the international championships for us.
And they've also announced that Go players can now get this too.
Yeah. $1,000 for the top 8 to travel. And then the newest introduction, which, TPCI wants a big pat on the back for, is priority registration to the top 16.
You can pick one of the two, can't you? Travel awards or priority registration?
No. So everyone in the top 16 gets priority registration now. Previously, I think it was top 8 for the region. So now if you're in a position where you're in the top 20 of the Oceanic leaderboard, you can guarantee yourself a position at an international championship. You still have to pay to get there. You still have to pay their ludicrous registration fee. We heard when we spoke to Kieran that, EUIC was £100, so 200 Australian dollars just to register.
It's kind of ridiculous,
Me.
The event hire costs and so much are huge though for those big events.
Yeah, but they'll still be making a decent amount of money out of that. £100 when they had 950 masters just for VGC.
Just for VGC. They also had like 2,500 TCG players.
Yeah,
the judges get paid in like merch and stuff, right? They don't get paid a salary.
No, they get paid in merch. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically
they're not even paying their staff, and they're pulling in just from seniors. What?
As £90,000 for EUIC just from VGC players.
Yeah, lest we forget that Pokemon is the highest grossing franchise of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that the Pokemon company provides obviously prizes and merch, but the actual event organizers, like so it's ESL Australia for us, and they don't get any money from Pokemon. They just get like the prizes and...
No, they get the ability to run the event.
Yeah.
They get the ability to run side events and have a shop.
It's basically a franchise.
Yes. Yeah. It's like you're franchising the Pokemon events.
Yes. I know they increased the CP payout and prizes for the regionals and stuff, but I just thought it was really interesting to note, and I think this is absolutely stupid. They've kept the prize money the same for VGC, which is great because they increased it last year and it's decent money now and people can make a living out of this now if you're good enough.
Yep.
But especially the TCG players. But you still don't get any prizes for top 32 at Worlds that you do at a regional event. So that means that top 32 at Worlds, you are literally in a $5,000 money match. If you lose in top 32, you get nothing. If you win your top 32 match, you get to go to top 16, you get $5,000.
I mean,
that's
insane. That's kind of absurd, but let's be honest. Based on what we've just discussed, my heart doesn't exactly break for people in the World Championships not getting $5,000 because we've already established in order to be able to get to Worlds in the first place, you have to be loaded. Well, because you have to be able to travel to 3 international championships.
So
Perhaps that's why they're charging these exorbitant fees for internationals, is because I know the only people bothering to.
Well, but essentially what they've already decided is if you're poor, go fuck yourself, peasant.
So there's a lot of argument on Twitter. A lot of people actually have come out in support of these changes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tit for tat. I think a few people are a little bit out of touch with some of their comments. There's a lot of people who are saying, like, if you're a really good Pokemon player, you'll like the best Pokemon players in the world are still going to qualify.
Yeah, that's a crock of shit.
But what they don't understand, there are brilliant Pokemon players out there that might live in remote areas and may not have won at a major event yet. Or
the
maybe
best
they have,
Pokemon player in the world could live in South Africa.
But yeah, my point is, like, there could be the world's best Pokemon player not able to go to Worlds next year because they don't have the money to attend multiple major events outside their country.
Or they live in
I just think
the Middle East.
Yeah, or they're in the Middle East or South Africa.
So if you live in South Africa or the Middle East, you can still qualify, but you have to travel to a different region and win a regional there.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd have to win a regional or move.
You have to sell some of those blood diamonds in South Africa.
I think a very dishonorable mention to someone that I saw in support of the changes is Brett Tomlinson.
Yes, he had some horrible comments.
I don't think I saw that
Australia's number one TCG player earned like 1,800 points this year. He had a Twitter post where he was like, "Oh, this year I made day 2 at 11 regionals, made day 2 at 3 international championships, earned $41,000 in prize money and $14,000 in travel allowances. I think these changes are great. How about go fuck yourself? You literally earned more money playing Pokemon than most, like the average Australian."
His
that
comments,
the average Australian makes in general, not that the average
in a
Australian
real
makes playing
job,
Pokemon.
So, thank you for the clarification.
Which is also true.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of Brent's tweets now, and he's like, less locals is good. Well, we're out for the casual players who actually like going to regular events.
It's fewer locals, thanks, Brett.
Yep.
No.
Mostly benefits grinders and wallet warriors. Well, I agree with that. He says Oceania is gutted, but this was expected to make it more in line with the rest of the world. I think that is absolutely ludicrous to say, how are we in line with the rest of the world? Well, we only have 3 regionals the entire season, no international championship anymore, only 20 places, the least in the world. The least, we don't even get stream of anything. Like, we don't get any love at all. How can you possibly say that we're in line with the rest of the world now? And if you look, we deserve a more representation of the world, if anything, because if you look at like events like UIC and NAIC, there are Australian players like on day 2, like on stream in the top 16 or whatever. Like, we are a really talented Pokemon community that's rapidly growing.
Yes.
I don't think that 20 is an accurate representation of the community, like in the international scene.
I think that's the worst part. Sorry, I think I'll let you get into this. But I think the worst part is the fact that we are growing so immensely. We're doing everything right. We're creating these events and these communities, and more people are playing Pokemon. And the international community are just, well, TPCI, their Pokemon company, international, they're not recognizing it. And it's incredibly disheartening to realize, well, what can we do? We're doing everything right.
We even made a podcast.
If we did, which they obviously listened to because they implemented asymmetric cut.
So we did talk about that. The one good thing that came out of this, or one of the good things,
I'm sure we'll get to
we
it.
predicted.
Sorry,
Yes.
Ethan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Okay, that's enough from you. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Moving on. No, but no, I just don't really understand why there has to be any kind of asymmetry in these caps in the first place. I mean, obviously there is more representation at the moment from places like Europe and the US and
Got bigger populations.
yeah, for sure. But it's definitely within the power of TPCI and the tournament circuit and everybody organizing it to bring more representation to these places, to bring them more in line with these more centralized places. And it just seems a little bit backwards to say, well, we haven't given these regions any support to grow, therefore they haven't grown, therefore they don't deserve to grow any further.
But we have grown, though.
Yeah,
I think that's the
Despite their
worst
best
part.
We're
effort.
we're no longer the world's smallest regional.
yeah.
Yeah.
So young.
We only had like 3 episodes of saying that before we had to
Before we lost it.
change to a much less impressive sounding intro.
So
I also had a question.
I'm pretty sure young up-and-comer Timothy Nurse in our VGC chat did a quick math calculation on the amount of people that will get invites versus how many people have got points, right? So I think Sorry, no, for this year. So Oceania, I think it was like 10% of people who had earned at least 1 point got an invite.
Mhm.
So we have 500 people in Australia who have earned a championship point. I think NA was something like 6%, and then EU was like 4%. So you could have kept those numbers, just bump the qualification limit.
Yeah. What's your question, Ethan?
Yeah, with those caps, I did kind of notice that Japan, China, and Korea aren't really included in that.
Yeah, so they will continue to have their own qualification system,
It's a different, yeah.
which will be based on. So currently, I believe Japan is based on your position in the GCs. You receive an invite to nationals, and then you play nationals, and based on one tournament, you get your invite. And I think in Japan, it's top 32 get invite.
The tournament's always wild as well. They bring the jankiest
The
shit.
weirdest stuff. Well, they're coming straight off the best of one closed team sheets.
Yeah.
I suppose it could always be worse.
Well,
I don't know.
They
I'm
play
tossing
best
up
of
at the moment.
1 for Swiss, and then they play best of 3 for Top Cup.
Crazy.
So you
man.
have to have a team that performs well in 2 modes
Yeah.
and get yourself there. It's absolutely wild.
I mean, I think the whole reason for why they're doing what they're doing is because they want to provide some exclusivity to the World Championships, which I'm honestly 100% behind. I feel like if you qualify for the World Championships, that should be a big deal. You should be able to rock up to the World Championships and come stone dead last and still feel immensely proud. And I feel like at the moment, heaps of people were qualifying for Worlds, and it kind of, I guess, diluted the achievement. So the desire to restrict the total number of entrants to the World Championships, I think is an honest one, and one that I agree with. But
the problem's in the implementation.
the problem is in the implementation, and even if they had region caps, I wouldn't be so unhappy about that. But the fact that I think what's worst about it is the fact that in order to make the cap, you are going to need to travel for multiple, if not all, of the international championships and potentially multiple regionals outside of Australia as well.
Yeah.
So it's just, as you said earlier, Chris, they've locked it behind a paywall. And for all of TPCI's talk of inclusivity and that kind of thing, this is like the least inclusive way you could implement. Like, this is only one step behind just a straight out bidding war for an invite.
Well, I mean, you said that a lot of people, there's a few counterpoints. Like one, you said a lot of people qualify for Worlds, and see that's true, but like how many people who actually qualify actually go? Joel, have you finished listing all the changes, or because I want to talk about like how they could either like salvage this, like fix it, or how they could have done it differently.
So the last change is how they're going to handle Swiss at big events. So, this is the constructive criticism sandwich. We started with the good changes, the absolute horseshit filling, and now this is the bread on top. I personally believe these changes are very good to how we are going to run Swiss.
These were the suggestions that we made a few podcast episodes ago, correct?
Yes.
So currently you can figure out how many rounds of Swiss are going to need to be had by doing the roundup of log of attendees divided by log of 2. It'll tell you how many Swiss rounds you have to do to get to one undefeated player. Fuck you, Mark.
He loves Groudon and Charizard. He's a weenie.
But for context, I was making eye contact with Joel, leaning into the microphone because he knows I was about to call him a colossal fucking nerd.
Okay, so now for big events, we don't know how it's going to run for locals. So this is regionals, special events, and internationals. So the total Swiss rounds now is going to be effectively 2 to the power of x plus 1, where x is how many rounds you would need plus 1, right?
Right.
So usually for, say an event that has 256 people, you'd usually need 8 rounds to get to one undefeated. The changes is that is now going to be a 9-round tournament.
Okay.
With 7 rounds on day 1. All X2s make cut. And then 2 rounds on day 2 Swiss.
Okay, and then
Top Cut, presumably?
And then asymmetric top cut.
Which means that whoever has the same amount of wins and losses as the 8th finishing person, they're also in top cut.
Yes. So I did some maths on this using a Perth-sized event So at Perth this year, I think we had 3 7-1s missed top cut. I think. Someone listening can tweet us and tell us if I got that right, because I don't have the scores in front of me. But with this new system, there would be 36 people make day 2. There'd be 36 people at a 158 player event that go 5-2 and make day 2. From there, an additional 2 rounds, you end up with roughly 14 people that would have the requisite score to go and do finals. So we have an asymmetric cut where the individual who finishes first, individual who finishes second, get a bye in the round 1 of top cut, and then we continue with the top 8 from there.
So with Melbourne regionals this year, how would it change? So there were people who finished 6-3 and made day 2. Like Mark, you're one of them.
Yep.
And there were people who, like me, who finished 6-3 and didn't make day 2. Now, though, would they just be X2 only in day 2?
Yeah. So Melbourne had 300 players. Is that right?
Yes, but there were also 8 rounds day 1. So my question was going to be, is it always going to be 7 rounds day 1, or will that change based on the total number of
It'll change based on the total number. They have made allowance for up to 8,192 people, which will happen for TCG. It won't happen for VG, okay? All VG events, so our biggest VG event was 975.
I feel like we made 3 digits somewhere, right? I think one of the ICs did.
Does it?
Do you mean 4?
Yeah.
I don't think we hit 1,000 in any of them, but
800 and something.
to get 9 rounds on day 1, you have to hit 2,049 people, which is IC level for TCG.
Yes, yeah.
So all VG events, because I doubt we're ever going to have a VG event with above 2,048 people.
Not in the near future, anyway.
Not in the near future, are going to be 8 rounds. And all X2s make day 2.
Okay, so the system changed because in Melbourne, what they did is everyone they had to do a top 32 or everyone that was X2, whoever was high.
Whichever number was high.
And there wasn't enough X2s to make 32. That's why some 6-3s got in.
That's correct. I think I was 29th out of 32.
Yeah.
So if the rounds themselves are on a sliding scale depending on participants, does it also follow that the required finish to cut would also be on a sliding scale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Perth, we're probably going to be under 256 this year. We're going to have 7 days of day 1, 7 rounds of day 1, 2 rounds of round 2.
An X2 cut.
Yeah. Anything that is up to 512 is 8 rounds on day 1, 2 rounds on day 2, and then anything up to 1,024 is going to be 8 rounds day 1 and 3 rounds on day 2.
Do we ever get X3 cut at those kinds of numbers?
Never. So it now becomes a X2 grind to make day 2.
And it's always X2 hard limit.
Hard limit, that's the changes that they've made.
Okay.
I guess a positive change there is like it was rough doing 9 rounds in Melbourne in one day. Like 7 rounds, get home, like, have a shorter day and then play the next 2 rounds the next day is probably better for like your physical and mental health.
As someone who went from X2 at round 7 to X3 at round 8, I agree. Yeah, we should have ended at 7 rounds.
Okay, so they did something right.
One thing.
They did
2
some
things,
stuff
sorry.
wrong. I think
Increase points, which is good, but it kind of fits into their system that it's a grind now.
Well, they increase points for regionals and ICs, which could end up actually being a negative, depending on how you look at it.
It could be, yes.
They've tied the locals to leagues.
Yep, which we think is a good idea.
We think is good because we'd be doing it anyway.
And it gets rid of the rogue TOs.
Yes, yeah.
It also means, but local CP payouts are lower now as well.
Yeah, well, we haven't confirmed that. Unless you mean like based on like the total number of events that have been
based on the
churned out.
CP that the equivalent TCG events give.
Yep.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's an assumption we're making, but yeah, at this point, I'd say it's fair to assume that whatever is going to be the worst for us is what's going to happen.
I think one thing. Okay, so if they continue with this route and they don't back down, they could obviously increase the caps for each region. So like America is saying there should be at least 100, for example.
I agree.
Yep. They could also, one thing that I think would fix a lot of the problem is making the BFL for internats 1. Because
agree.
then
Yes.
you don't have the people who are spending their, trust funds traveling to all the and because the people that can afford to travel to all the internets will stack the top 75 or the top 20 or whatever region you're in. They will be full of the players who can afford to go because if they finish like top 256, they're getting CP, right?
They're still getting decent points.
Yeah. So like I think to stop people doing that and blocking other people out and like gatekeeping, I think 1 BFL for internets is a good start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether or not they should abandon this and just go, right, why don't we just increase the CP like limits instead of 300 for Oceania and 600 for North America? Do they go, right, now in North America you need 1,000 CP to go to Worlds?
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be better system because I do agree though that Worlds should be an exclusive event, but it just the way it's done is just so harmful to some regions. Like a lot of people I've seen on Twitter, I've said that they're not going to play this season, or they're either going to quit the game, or they're not going to try and make Worlds because they just know that it's not physically possible for them to be able to do it under this system.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to stunt the growth of the game. Like if you've got good players like leaving the game, and I don't think I'm ever going to win a World Championship. I'm not delusional, but my dream is to be able to compete at a Worlds because I think the experience would be amazing. And people say, oh, well, there's not a huge difference between competing at Worlds and competing at an internet. Like, it's the same sort of experience. I don't know if I buy that completely. I think Worlds
We've had an individual in our chat discount that.
Dispel that rumor.
You get a Worlds like little gift pack, don't you?
Yeah, you get a gift pack, but the general consensus that we have received from individuals locally is that Worlds is absolutely a different vibe. It is like a 3-day party.
Yeah.
Where everyone's super psyched to be there compared to an IC, which we've all been to.
Sweatfest.
It was
absolute
it was
sweatfest.
fun, but like it's still at the end of the day, it was in like a grey room and it is just...
It was fun because we were all staying with our friends in one accommodation.
Yeah.
Not because the event was like...
Yeah, but then you hit X3 and you're like, well, this was a fucking waste of money.
And one day I will tell this story, but Oceanics for me, don't get me started on Cherem Kid. We will have a war story.
That is a story for another time. I think all of our ire is directed somewhere else at the moment, not to Cherem Kid. I
haven't forgotten about you, Cherem
there's
Kid.
another point in there that is kind of flying under the radar a bit. With all of this kind of pay-to-win stuff flying around, it kind of makes the whole process of trying and failing to secure a Worlds invite a much more unsatisfying thing. Like imagine you've paid all of this money to travel to an IC and make your way up through the ranks and all of the way that you have to play. It doesn't matter how rich you are. Like it's always going to suck if you miss 6 bleak wins and bubble out into 17th.
Yeah.
It's still Pokemon.
Think about it this way, to qualify for 2025 Worlds, today is the 1st of July 2024. Your season starts now.
No breaks.
No breaks, you will not know for 366 days whether or not you have qualified or not.
Yeah.
And I just think...
There's no I've made it unless you win a regionals.
Yeah, that's the other point that I've got is just going to be incredibly stressful. At the moment, if you make it to in Oceania, if you make it to 300 CP, you can be like, okay, I've secured a World's invitation. I can book my flights. I can book my accommodation. I can maybe take it easy for a little bit.
Take some time off work, which is actually not easy to do.
Yeah, but book the time off work. That's a huge one. Whereas now you have to wait until the very last minute. Imagine being on the cusp about like 18th ranked in Australia and then like 3 players who are decently up there have all flown over to NAIC. So you have to be like constantly refreshing RK9 to see whether or not, they have qualified, made enough points to knock you out of 20th.
An example from this year would have been Sam Pandelis. He was sitting at 20th on our leaderboard when we did our CPPP review. And then Hobbit, who has a long-distance girlfriend in America, attends 2 regionals and NAIC, makes top 8 and bumps him out. And he's got no rebuttal to that because he wasn't able to travel. So suddenly one of the most well-known names in Australian VGC just gets kicked out and has no answer to it.
I just don't know what it's going to do to our community at a local level because obviously we're all friends. What if you find yourself at a local event because you haven't, people are still trying to maximize their BFLs, or could even be at the last regional of our season, and you're sitting in the top 20 and your friend is like about to is playing a game to get into the final and will get more CP and bump you out of the 20, do you want your friend to win, or are you rooting for them to lose so that you can keep your 20th placing? It's going to be...
You want your friend to win the whole thing.
You want your friend to win.
True, that's a very good point.
To your point about whether or not it's going to cause some rifts within the community, why don't you ask the body in Daniel Bagouli's boot?
Yeah, that's true. There are filthy wash shitters like Daniel Bagouli who finished 52nd in our region this season. He's got a chance. He's never going to go to Worlds. So what has that done to that man's dreams? They have been crushed.
Especially because since the minute after he lost that final match, people were always saying to him, "Don't worry, you'll get it next year. You'll get it next year. You'll get it next year."
Yeah.
And then TPCI heard that, and they said,
"Fuck you very, very much."
Someone needs to take that thing away from
We
me.
hate what you do, and
Joel
we hate
loves his
your whole
soundboard.
crew.
And that's what TPCI said to Australia, basically.
they did, except they didn't do it with the dulcet tones of Lily Allen.
No, so
They did it with the sound of a horse shitting.
So there is one small element which we haven't touched on in Pokemon's announcement post, that they have committed to having something for people who make the old qualification level. They haven't said what that is. It could literally just be a thank you email.
My hopes are not high. I get the feeling it'll be some kind of crappy merch gift.
Here's a
I reckon it's going to be
booster
100%. I reckon it's going to be here's some card sleeves and a play mat and 3 pins. Congratulations, you made a CPU event. Oh, cool. Going to come to Worlds? No, fuck you.
TCG live codes.
Enjoy your card backs. I don't actually play TCG. Well, you will now. Give us money, bitch.
Actually, can I have your deck box and sleeves? When you get...
Absolutely. If I make the CP threshold and they give me a crappy gift, you can have any of the TCG merch in it.
Thank you. I'll hold you to that.
So one thing that I did see on Twitter was that there is the potential for this new classification, which is casually competitive. All right. So
Pokemon underground scene.
So people like me, I do not have the funds to travel.
You are not casually competitive. You are competitivly casual.
You have a Pokemon podcast.
I run a podcast. That's that's the peak that I'm at, right? So I'm a middling player. I don't have the funds to travel and secure attendance at these events. The best I can hope for is just being competitive.
Luck your
locally.
way into winning Perth Regionals.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to do that because I'll be judging. All right. So,
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's how you go into Worlds. In a red and black judge polo.
Yeah, take me bloody 2 years to get there now, but yeah, that's where we're at.
Don't tell me the requirements for being a judge have increased as well.
Yeah, you do have to have a certain amount of events under your belt.
So they're not picking the top 20 judges from each region. So.
I have a proposition, not a sexual one for once. I actually put this to an Eastern States player in Australia on Twitter, and they didn't reply because it is quite a controversial idea. But do we work together just to support each other in the community? Because obviously people do not have the excess money to be able to travel to international events, right? It's a lot of money, all right?
Yes.
So the one way I thought of this, what's the way we could save expenditure on attending Pokemon events so that you can save up more money to attend internationals? Would you three, and I'll put this to the room, would you three consider hosting if a Eastern States player wanted to come to Perth to participate in our regionals, would you consider giving them free board, save accommodation money? Would you put them in your house and give them free board so that they could save money attending Perth? In return, they would give you free accommodation for Melbourne or Brisbane regionals.
Yeah, absolutely. If the
5 years ago, yes.
Why not now?
You've got a 3-year-old
I've got a
kid.
4-year-old.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you've got children. You've got an excuse because
No.
you made bad life decisions. The rest of us, I don't have a spare bedroom yet. I could get one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd let them stay on my couch. It pulls out.
Do you pull out though? So I thought because at it'd probably $500 to come stay in Perth for 3 nights, 4 nights, right?
I
At
think
least.
when we went to Melbourne, that cost us
Hundreds and hundreds of
$300, and we shared a unit amongst like 6 people.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
imagine if you didn't have to pay accommodation in Brisbane and Melbourne and Perth for any of the regionals, and maybe Sydney if we get it back. If you're listening ESL Australia, give us our Sydney regionals back
OCIC while you're at it.
and ICIC.
I don't think ESL doesn't decide whether or not we get OCIC. Our
They do decide
overlords at
about Sydney,
TPCI, they do decide about Sydney. Our overlords at TPCI say, you all, Europe, North America, South America, have an international championships. Nothing for Oceania. Bye.
Yeah.
So, listeners, if you think this is a good idea, do we help the community save money at regional events so that they've got that money, then they can invest it and go into an internationals? If they're a serious hardcore player that can't afford to go,
Yep.
I don't think this is the bad idea.
No, absolutely. If you are a player from the Oceanic region and you want to come over for Perth to compete in the regionals, hit us up. You absolutely may stay on my couch.
But you have to let us do it to you too.
Yeah.
It's both.
I think
works
this
both
is
ways.
something that Sliff started propositioning Eastern players with after Melbourne last year.
I think
where
Sliff
it
has
was-
been banned from several events due to propositioning Easterners.
But you know, just like we're all here for the same reasons, let's all help each other out. And like, yes, as you said, if I hadn't made bad life decisions, I absolutely would, right? Like,
I'm going to play this for your son at his 18th.
he understands.
So, how are they going to fix it? Are they going to? Do you reckon they're just going to? They're going to dig in deeper and just stick with it, or they're going to? They said they came out and said, "We've heard all your feedback. We are. Please comment." They actually said on their Twitter, PlayPokemon said, "Please continue to comment and provide feedback. We are reviewing it."
Yeah, they
Yes.
made a really nice post where they said, wow, we've received a lot of negative feedback. Thank you so much. We're going to take this on board. And that's just going to
I
hurt
don't
so
think they
much
used the
more.
word negative, but it
didn't say
implied.
negative.
It was
No,
implied.
But it was implied, yeah. And that's just going to make it so much worse when they do fuck all and leave it the way it is.
So I think,
Ethan didn't say anything, but he just nodded his head in acknowledgement there. And I just wanted to share that with our audience.
yeah, I think we're looking at a 2025 Worlds is going to be on the east coast of America because the last time we had Top X.
Well,
That's
isn't
where it
I heard
was.
there's rumors about it being Singapore or Paris. That's
I
what
haven't
that's
seen
what
Oh,
I've
if it's
heard.
in Paris, I'm going to be so pissed about
Mega's in
Is
Paris.
it Singapore and Oceania? No.
Nah.
No, this is what I've heard. Anyone else heard this? Nodding around the room. Dan Bagouli's heard it. Alice is nodding. Yep. See, I'm not making this shit up.
Yeah.
Someone probably is, but that's all right.
Yeah. Let's move on from the disgrace that is TPCI.
Has anyone else got anything to say on the matter just before we move on?
I mean, I've got thoughts on how they could possibly fix it.
They
But
can
I
go
mean,
back.
we've gone over most of it. Yeah, go back to the way it was, please.
I think most has been
just
said.
just bump
Yeah.
the CP limits.
Yeah,
Like if you want it to be smaller, bump the limits.
if nothing else, bump the caps, please. But like,
Yeah.
I would prefer I want to go back to the system we previously had. You have a day 1 of Worlds. That was just for anyone who made the CP cap. And then there's a cap for day 2,
Yeah. it was
where you
all
get to
like
skip the
twos, yeah.
first day.
Yeah.
Which previously, I think for Oceania was top 4 players in the region.
Yeah, top 8.
Top 8. Okay. Made it to the second day without having to play through their way through the first day. I thought that was an awesome way to do
I
it.
thought it was too much of an advantage for people that didn't have to play day 1.
Yeah.
Well, it's more of a advantage than not making it at all.
The biggest advantage now is to have a big bank account. That's the biggest advantage.
Exactly. As someone pointed out on Twitter, the strongest card in TCG is an Amex.
Yeah. It's like those memes of like, man, this gameplay is so good. The gameplay is just like a credit card.
Credit card.
I guess
Just let it go in that case.
the last thing I want to say on it is that for all our listeners, please share the news of this podcast. We need more followers so we start getting paid, so we can afford to go.
We need
to
sponsors
events.
that we can go to E EUIC.
If you want to sponsor us or donate, slide into our DMs.
Yeah.
Starving VGC players need your help to get a qualification. For just $5 a day, you can fly Chris Ma
For me to go O2 drop.
to go
content, for
O2
content.
drop in the North American International Championships.
I might find my Pokemon husband there finally, though. There's a bigger selection there.
Come on, you've flown to all these gorgeous places in Europe, and you think you're going to find your husband in North America?
He was too shy last time. He was in Europe.
That
Decided it was look and don't touch.
I had a travel companion and we were sharing accommodation. I couldn't just like bring someone home, okay?
What the fuck are we paying for?
So,
All right.
Chris, your Twitter rundown for this week.
Twitter run. It's all just been this shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, is anyone talking about anything on Twitter, Chris?
Oh,
People are
sorry if we
pissed.
covered it off.
No, look, okay. Well, I got another It's still a Chris honorable mention because I'm still cross with them, but the TCPi did come out and apologize. Not really apologize. They said that unfortunately for the TCG illustration competition, that there were some AI entries and people had snuck in with too many entries. So they've disregarded those entries and they're announcing a new top 300 finalists. So they've undone their bullshit.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good.
They obviously heard the Chris honorable mention from last episode. Oh, shit, we
They
better
continue
fix
to
this.
listen to the podcast.
They
At first
continue
we got
to.
asymmetric cut. Now they've got rid of the AI generated artwork.
Yeah. I want to give this panel once again a Chris honorable mention because last episode I
That's fair.
said that Tigedamaru was a world champion and you guys made me doubt myself and talked me out of it. Turns out it is a 2019 seniors world champion.
So it's
And-
not a world's champion.
It is a seniors world
It is
champion.
a seniors world champion, and
Hang on,
famously,
sorry. Yes, it is a world champion.
famously, it defeated a friend of the show, Lewis Tan,
Oh, well, that's not hard.
at that
I take
At
it back.
that-
It is a world champion.
at that championships. I believe he was booted out by Togedemaru.
Lewis
in
lost
the
to a
final match.
meme.
Was it the final
He came
match?
second in 2019 seniors.
Oh, that's rough.
Sorry, multi-boy.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
I mean, Simon has put it at least twice in the in the Discord just
As
to trigger Lewis.
soon as that episode dropped, Simon was immediately just like, Togedemaru did win and it beat Lewis Tan.
I think that's all this. Twitter's just been fighting over the changes, but I'll give a shout out. Even though I've been dragging him through the coals this whole episode, I'll also give a shout out to Dan Baguli for winning our multi-battles tournament yesterday. Well done. Him and his teammate Warren went undefeated, I believe. With somewhat, what were you running?
What do you mean undefeated? It was 3 rounds of Swiss with no top cut. They won 3 games.
He loves Groudon and Charizard. He's a weenie.
Zamazenta and Kelly.
Kelly Rex Shadow.
Oh, okay. Well,
It was a filthy, sweaty team.
Consider
It really was.
Ethan and I came in second. We lost to that.
I'm glad you did. Actually, I hated your team too. But there was 4 Oricorios played that day, and I was very excited to see that.
There
'cause
was
I
a
love
lot
the
of
dance in there.
Oricorio.
Yeah,
yes.
I think a proper shout out to Sebi and Jared for actually cooking something wild.
Oh,
They-
yeah.
yeah. They
Excuse
cooked
me, I brought
some-
a Sandy Shocks.
And also,
Shout out to Ethan.
I brought a Tinkerton.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
And we were dressed very, very well.
we were.
Oh,
yes.
that's right. Yeah,
Impeccably.
the photo of you two.
I also want to shout out good friends of the show, Peter Vowles and Philip Brigg, who teamed up and ran both forms of Curum,
Fuck yeah.
Curum White and Curum Black. It was very, very cool Maltese team. Double Smeargle as well.
Yeah,
Um,
gross.
we beat them, but
Yeah, someone had a Smiggle with chili reception.
yeah, Phil.
That was them.
Fuck, that was cooked.
Double Curum, you've got to set the snow.
Yeah, but like that was the only snow setter. Nothing even hit snow scape.
Yeah, I know, because we
Just
killed it
all
round
in.
1.
Yeah. I'm also going to give a shout out to a fellow Australian in the Eastern States, Scoot Easy, who is popping up on Twitter with his Grovile team. This is a Reg G team with Grovile. It is a Focus Sash Endeavor Grovile, and it has Grass Pledge alongside a Primarina with Water Pledge to set the swamp that halves the opposition's speed, I believe.
Quarters.
And then it had quarters.
And quarters has
quarters. And then it has a Calyrex Ice Rider, which will then outspeed everything and kill everything with Bestial Lance, as it does. So I think that
love
is a
that.
ingenious team. Hopefully someone brings that to Worlds. It'll make the viewing party a lot more exciting.
It will.
Why Grovile over Sceptile?
Grovile is cooler.
I don't disagree, but
I think you want it to proc its Sash more easily because of the Endeavor meme. I don't know.
okay.
Because the speed will
I
be
mean,
quartered,
Sceptile's
it'll then go
pretty weak
first
as
next
speed.
turn and go Endeavor.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you should get into Scoot Easy's DMs and ask him that because I don't know.
Cool.
Scoot Easy, please tweet us at the 02drop_VGC and
Huge fan of
tell
the
us
show.
about your team. We'd love to do a more in-depth report on it.
We
I
would.
hope it's a mystery dungeon thing. I love that game. I've
That's
been playing
true.
it back.
Are we ready to do Mark's game?
Yes. We are going to do something a little bit fun here at the O2 Drop over the next few episodes.
Okay, want me
Well,
to...
this is effectively, because we're on the 1st of July, we have started season 2
That's
of the
true.
O2 Drop effectively. So over season 2, we are going to do what, Mark?
Joel, thank you so much for asking. There's a pressing question that has been on everyone's minds. Philosophers have quibbled over this. wars have been fought over this very question.
Please
what's
tell me
this
what
dick
I'm
look
thinking.
But the four of us, or the six of us, or whoever is on the podcast in that particular week, are going to ascertain the answer to the long asked question: what is the best Pokemon
Oh my god, I was thinking that.
in Regulation G specifically?
Okay, so Incineroar done. Right, next topic.
You may think that, but don't be too hasty. We're not trying to ascertain the best Pokemon competitively.
Ooh, okay, I like this. This is getting
Because it would be 5 minutes of us being like, Incineroar, Fluttermate, yeah, Incineroar. But no, we're not doing that. That's crap. Instead, what we want to do is figure out not the best competitive Pokemon, but the best Pokemon.
aesthetically, sentimentally,
By whatever category
By
we discuss.
whichever metrics we decide,
the CPPP.
essentially.
The CPPP ratio.
The CPPP ratio, exactly. So, that could include aesthetically. It could include design-wise. If you like the lore behind it, like perhaps if Mabostiv comes up, you might really have enjoyed Arven's storyline in the Generation 9 games, and that you might pick it for those reasons.
Said nobody ever.
And
I
what,
really like that storyline. I thought it was one of the best storylines in Pokemon.
What? I was
In the
abandoned
mainline
by
game.
my
There was
parent,
a
who's a
sick
robot.
puppy.
The sick puppy's getting
sick
better.
puppy.
Have you no soul?
He really doesn't. I will say, when he feeds it that last sandwich, I was really hoping. I knew it wouldn't happen, but a part of me was really hoping that Game Freak would have had the balls to have it not work and have the dog just dies, and it's like, wow, this is a heartbreaking story. But no, the dog got better.
But no, it
obviously.
got better, and then we went and we got to beat it up.
It got better. We kicked the shit on it. It's like, yeah, cool. Your dog beat cancer by eating the sandwich. My dog can fly now.
so I think
But
when,
that was awesome. So I think, like lore reasons, I think competitively can definitely play into this. If two Pokemon come up and we decide that we enjoy using one more than the other in the competitive format, absolutely that can come into it. But it is far from the only reason.
I think
Now-
one important factor should be what has the Pokemon done for any social movements like trans rights, gay rights? Like we learned
See-
today on Twitter that Earthworm,
Orthworm, yeah.
Earthworm, that happy little worm with the little feet. Apparently,
He's a gay icon.
He's a gay icon because he's got Earth Eater ability and he likes to eat ass.
Yeah.
And I love that. So he's going to get a vote from me.
Yeah. So that could definitely be one of the reasons we vote. So this age-old question, the question that many people have argued about, we are going to be determining it by the only correct format, single elimination. So essentially what we're going to do is I have a list of basically every Pokemon that might be used in Regulation G. So unfortunately, if your favorite Pokemon has been dexited and doesn't feature in Generation 9, it will not be seeing play.
Just fucking deal with it because we just got dexited from the World Championships. our whole fucking region. So fuck you, deal with it.
Yeah, pretty much. So unfortunately, there will be no Slitherwing. Sorry, not Slitherwing. No Surfetched.
I say, what is
No
this?
Surfetched.
So
God
Slitherwing
damn
is
it.
definitely in here, and I anticipate it getting quite far if I have anything to say about it.
Oh God.
So Mark has prepared for us a little baggie.
I have.
Lots of squares of Pokemon.
So I'll give you a quick rundown on what is included in here. So it includes all restricteds that are legal in Regulation G. That includes Cosmoem, base Calyrex, and other restricteds that wouldn't be considered to be usable. What the fuck is going on here?
Just keep
going.
reading.
All right. It also includes not fully evolved that
how we-
could be feasibly used
This is
in.
how we get a copyright strike.
It also includes not fully evolved that could feasibly be used in VGC, such as Dusclops. It doesn't include not fully evolved that would not be used in VGC. It also doesn't include mythical Pokemon that are not currently legal in VGC. So your Magearna, your Mew, your Victini, those are all not included. Apart from that, I think that basically leaves us to it. The idea is we will be discussing over the next few episodes. We will 2 Pokemon at a time, and we will argue which is better than the other until we have come up with a winner. That one will then move on to the next bracket, and we will do so via single elimination until all but one have been eliminated.
I'm ready.
And we have established the best Pokemon
I'm ready.
in Regulation G.
Let's
Right.
do it.
Draw him.
All right. I'm going to shuffle the bag a little bit. I probably should have, I definitely could have come up with a spreadsheet to randomize and generate, there's single elim format generators online, but I really just wanted to do some arts and crafts.
We're giving our listeners some ASMR here.
We're very low tech here at the O2 Drop.
Fuck, I just dropped a bunch of them out of the bag.
Just draw two out of the bag.
All right, hold on. I spilled them all over myself.
While we're having this little intermission, can I please give a shout out to Wolf, big listener of the show. Please come to Perth Regionals next year. Don't win because we need to win, but you are still invited. So hashtag Wolfie Down Under. Everyone get on board with it. I'm sick and tired of being the only one hashtagging it. And please repost and quote my tweets because it's getting harder and harder to come up with Wolfie memes.
Yes.
Also,
I'll also
we're sorry for inviting you to our group chat.
Yes,
That
we're
was
sorry
not
that
us.
someone in the group chat added you, found your Facebook profile, and added you to our group chat.
He was a small child. He cannot be held accountable for his actions.
And he was given a 24-hour ban.
And yeah,
Yes, he was.
so
I
hashtag
also-
Wolfie goes down under. Please hashtag that.
I've also got this sorted. We've got our first two, but before that, I also just want to mention forms are included to some regard. So
Perfect.
the different Ogerpon forms, I've included things like both Zacian and Zacian Crowned. So if there is nothing there, like if it doesn't include a
specify.
qualifier, assume it is the base form or the original form if it has a regional variant. There are some I didn't include, like Vivian.
Why
didn't-
not?
because apart from the color, they're all the same.
Okay.
I also Squawkabilly, for example, I didn't include 4 different variants. I know they do have different abilities, but you can just pick in your mind whichever Squawkabilly you think is the coolest and vote on that
It's
one.
probably the Intimidate one, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, they all get Intimidate, so I think that's the main thing. It's either Guts or Sheer Force, which is the determiner between either the yellow and white one or the blue and the green one.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that painful clarification.
He loves Groudon and Charizard. He's a weenie.
I know you're
What are the first two
a big
Pokemon
fan
now?
of this soundboard. Groudon and Charizard are both in here, so maybe they'll come up against each
So
other.
our first two Pokemon we've pulled out of the bag, Cantonian Ninetales and Ogerpon Wellspring.
I think it's pretty clear that
Ninetales.
Ninetales.
That's Ninetales with a
I like-
Tails,
I like.
which isn't a real fucking Pokemon.
I'm gonna murder the pronunciation. It's like a kitsune, right? Like that's not pronounced.
Kitsune,
that's not-
yeah.
Kitsune. I like the lore behind it. Competitively, obviously, Ogerpon Wellspring's better.
Sure.
But design wise and shiny wise,
Oh yeah,
Ninetales.
Ninetales. That's 3 for Ninetales.
Yeah, lock it in. Ninetales, our first
Ethan?
winner.
Do you have any thoughts?
Do you want
You
to?
spelt it wrong.
Well, you can suck 9 of my dicks, okay? And can I just say how thrilled I am that the first Pokemon to be eliminated from our Pokemon
It's
tournament,
Ogerpon.
Ogerpon Wellspring.
I love this community.
I think Ogerpon's ugly as a design. I'm sorry.
I'm on.
I think
I'm inclined to
Ogerpon Hearthflame is
Legs
really
are weird.
I think some of the masks are really sick,
Yeah.
but the base form looks fucking absurd.
However, it designs Pokemon, they get really lazy in the leg department. They have a really good design, and then it gets to Incineroar's legs, Ogerpon's legs, all the dog Pokemon. All their legs are just ugly and
That's-
sticks.
You know
Calyrex, it's got ugly legs.
It's got weird little
Darkrai.
toothpicks
My
on legs,
my
yeah.
undoubtable favorite Pokemon is Golispod because it's the one Pokemon that guy has ever designed. Like most people end up designing like 30 to 40
Yeah.
Pokemon, and I can't remember his name, but the only Pokemon he's ever designed is Golispod, and he just
I like the idea. He spent like
Done.
6 months on it,
And it's a great
as
design.
just like locked in his shed in the back, just coming up with it.
Not gonna lie, he cooked.
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah, that's
cooked.
fair. I will also apologize in advance for us butchering the pronunciation of some of these Pokemon. We're undoubtedly going to get some of them wrong. Next up on the chopping block are Quillfish versus Raikou. Raikou?
Quillfish.
When you say Quillfish, that's
That's base Quillfish, not Hisuian.
water poison.
Quillfish.
Okay.
Yes, water poison.
Quillfish because in 7-star raids he was amazing, just clicking acupuncture. You have three people with Quillfish clicking acupuncture, and one person was like running slow bro or some shit.
I remember
Store
that
power.
one. The store power with all the acupuncture.
I think, I don't know if you guys are old like me, but I mean, I have fond memories of the legendary trio from the gold and silver games, like chasing down the legendary beasts.
I have less fond memories of trying to fucking catch
the
them.
lore behind Raikou, and it's more relevant in TCG as well, which I also play. I'm gonna go Raikou, but I think I'm outvoted.
No, I'm on Raikou because Kitty.
Because Kitty.
It is
I
a
like
kid.
cats.
Yeah.
I would vote Quillfish actually. I'm always a bit given to like the slightly goofier designs.
Have you seen
especially
Raiku's face?
He's the lamest out of the
You're-
three.
you're
How
Paradox
fucking
version.
dare you?
So how do we break
Entei is
tiebreakers?
the lamest.
Well, someone is going to have to concede if we're in a tiebreaker.
We're
At
just
least we
going to
agree
defeat
that
them with facts
We
and
can't
logic.
get Dan Baguli over here to vote.
No.
At least we agree that Suicune's the best.
Fuck you, Dan Baguli. Sorry.
Okay. So,
No.
okay,
Mark, please.
I want to make an argument for
Raiku's my
Quillfish.
favorite. Okay, yeah, hit me.
You are far more likely to have Quillfish as a pet. It is far more likely to be enjoyable than Raikou, who is going to give you the fucking Ash Ketchum Pikachu like relationship.
Yeah, but it's worth it. Can you imagine riding that thing to school?
If
I
you
don't
could
go to
afford-
school anymore, but I would if I had a Raikou to ride.
I would love riding to school with my taint getting zapped the whole way. Like, hearts.
If it was Overquill, I'd say that. But Quillfish
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just kind of this lame pufferfish that never
It's not
did
even a
anything.
Sui and well,
You
actually, I don't
take
think it's
that
Sui and
back.
It's
Never.
like the seventh worst Swift swimmer.
You never ever have to go get acupuncture ever again.
It's they're poisonous, right? You can't get acupuncture from a Quillfish.
Also,
course you
acupuncture
can.
is not good. Don't do it.
Raikou, I'm not backing down.
Yeah, I think I'm the same here. Quillfish, it's kind of lame.
Oh, fuck it. We are going to need a tiebreaker. Dan.
Dan Viguli from the corner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck me.
Dan has given his vote to Raikou.
As
He
he
said
rightfully
Quillfish.
fucking should.
Yeah. So to all of those listening who are also barracking for Raikou, thanks for being on our side. And for those of you who are barracking for Quillfish, eat my asshole.
You know who would eat your asshole?
Earthworm.
Yes.
So our next round, and a reminder that I didn't shuffle these very well out of their alphabetical order. Sandslash and Scovillain.
Original Kanto sounds.
This will be
Cantonian
base
Sandslash.
version Sandslash. Yes.
I'm going to have to
Scovillain-
go against the grain again and say Scovillain.
Scovillain's
I
our
guess they're
first,
great.
our-
Scovillain,
a long,
for sure.
long-awaited fire grass type that we've been
Mhm.
waiting for years, and I love its design. And spicy extract is spicy as fuck.
It's got a cool design. Spicy Extractor is really cool. The name is fucking thick.
It's thick.
Scovillain.
Yeah.
Like the Scoville.
Like the
Yeah.
Scoville units used to measure
I'm not even
spice.
going to argue because Scoville is so much more interesting than Sandslash.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just always think of MF Doom when I think of Scovillain, and that's an amazing thing.
So I think Scovillain's one of the ones that's going to go quite far. In the
I think so
tournament.
as well. It's going to go surprisingly
we all
far.
have a soft spot for it.
Do you remember that in
Yeah.
like Pokemon Yellow, that woman that had the sand shrew that was like from the anime, and she was in the game and she was really hard to beat and like one of the first routes?
No.
No,
I,
don't remember
I started in Diamond Pearl.
Okay, little tidbit for you listeners at home.
Okay, we have our first restricted Pokemon. In fact, two of these. Both of these are restricted. We have Lugia and we have Necrozma Duskmane.
Ooh. Okay. Lugia makes a massive appearance in Generation 8 anime. It's super important. I learnt shit about Lugia that I didn't know, such as its fucking veins on its back actually help it swim, like dorsal fins and shit.
Ooh.
I
That's
think
cool.
I think Lugia is just it's a more interesting old school Pokemon.
I'm sorry, but
I think Necrozma is very Gen Z.
Lugia for me is a very early example of the Pokemon Company getting something wrong. They get it a lot wrong. It should have been water type. Everyone knows it.
I
And
agree.
because it's not, I fucking hate it. Necrozma wins by default.
I like Necrozma, and I'm going more for a competitive angle, not because I think it's better competitively, but because I really enjoy using it competitively.
And it's also a cat.
I'm Team Lugia, actually. I've never really liked Necrozma's forms all that much because I thought that they kind of cooked with Lunala and Solgaleo. Necrozma was a cool concept on its own, but just kind of splicing them together was done already with the Kyurem forms. And it just felt a little bit derivative and a little bit uninspired. And I mean, Ultra Necrozma is very, very cool, but I just don't really think that they really needed that middle form, you know?
That's 2-2.
It's 2-2. So can I convince you, Chris, that
You know what?
Lugia is better? You are
I'm
an
gonna,
old school guy, just
I'm
like
gonna
me.
flip because I have fond memories of Aeroblast being badass back in the day.
Fuck yes. That is a win for Lugia.
I'm not happy about it because I still think it should be water type.
It's all right. Hopefully it'll win the next one because I'm not a big fan of Lugia, but I'm not super invested in Duskmane, so I'm not sad to lose that one.
Look, I think on that absolute bombshell, we'll wrap up this episode.
Can we do 5? Can we do one more?
You want to do an odd number?
Yes.
Last one.
5.
5. Chris has demanded 5.
Okay, this is interesting. 2 Gen 5 Pokemon. We have Crocodile and we have Zekrom.
Zekrom.
Ooh.
Zekrom, like the whole
Crocodile also spelled wrong.
the N legendary interaction of the games it's the best story in my opinion that Pokemon has had. And I think even though like Zekrom and Reshiram are arguably bad in a restricted format,
And ugly designs.
I think they're not though.
They're not ugly designs. How dare you?
I think the story and lore behind Zekrom trumps most non-restricted Pokemon that it's going to come up against.
Ooh, interesting. If we were just going on story and lore, I would agree with you. I've just got really fond memories of Side Frostbreath into Anger Point Crocodile.
Also,
But
Croc and
I-
Speed Dealers, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's
got
a sick
sunglasses.
design.
It's got like the bandit like eyes. Like it's like
Yeah.
like they're wearing like a
They,
mask.
they look
It's-
like
it's one of
sunglasses, but
Jared's
also
steel types.
specifically lore-wise, that is to help them see in the dark. It's essentially like kind of like reflectors to help them see. They just look like sunglasses.
And you've seen
So
them in Scarlet.
it's canonically sunglasses at night. It's cool as hell.
And in Scarlet Violet, they swim in the sand.
Yeah,
Animation.
yeah.
That's so cool.
I don't like the shiny. The yellow,
Yeah.
the yellow eyes in the shiny is fucking awful.
I mean, to be fair,
Zekrom Shiny sucks.
yeah, both shinies of these suck. I'm on the fence here. I could really go either way. I'm sad to see either of these eliminated so soon.
I mean, this is the thing with like Gen 5 Pokemon in particular. Lore-wise, with all of them, they
Gen
just
5 was
knew
very
what
good
was up.
games.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, they cooked with Gen 5.
They really did.
I think here we really kind of showcase the weakness of single elimination format. Giving a concrete example.
we need to go back to
asymmetric cut.
I was absolutely not going to cook up a Swiss format for all of these. I would have killed myself.
Crocodile. Only because I think
You're saying Crocodile.
I was always Team Reshiram of those two.
Oh, so was I. If Reshiram came up against Zekrom, I would vote you Reshiram.
Okay, so 1 Crocodile,
Mhm.
1 Zekrom.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan?
I'm so torn, man.
So am I.
Yeah.
Come on, Natalie and Brulio. Which one are you? Come on.
Okay, just think of the relationship that N has with the Pokemon that N is involved with. Sure, he's involved with
Yeah, state your cases.
canonically every Pokemon in Gen 5, okay, but like the story crescendos up to the Zekrom and Reshiram interaction. And
Okay.
I think that it's like you play that game for like 40 hours to get to that point, and it's just so good.
Who voted Crocodile again?
I did.
Counterpoint.
It gets really good abilities: Anger Point, Moxie, and Intimidate. I mean, come on,
Three really good
three good
abilities.
strategies. And I think
Well,
like
go for the low hanging fruit of competitive.
I don't really have. I've already feel like I've already. It's a cool design.
we
We don't get many good crocodile Pokemon.
I'm leaning
Zekrom
Crocodile,
is-
but
is
Ethan, if you say
Moldbreaker.
Zekrom, I'm willing to change.
Zekrom is Mold Breaker.
I think I'm
Effectively.
going to go with my heart and say Crocodile.
Wait, did we get the numbers?
That's 2.5 for Crocodile, yeah.
2.5?
Because I was on the fence and tentatively towards Crocodile. It pains me to see Zekrom kicked out this early. It pains me.
Me too.
doesn't
This
pain
was
me
a
at all.
hard choice.
Fuck.
We're gonna have to make these hard choices eventually.
This is going to be full of hard
It
choices.
really is. And I think on that bombshell, we'll wrap up
Yeah.
this episode of the O2 Drop. Thank you to everyone for taking the time out of your day to listen to us. We appreciate it and would love for you to join us again. Join us next week when we speak to West Australia's #1 commodity, Alistair Sandover.
That's such a nice way to refer to him.
Follow us on Twitter /X at the 02drop_VGC. Don't forget to drop us a follow and review on your favorite listening app. And if you're in Perth, give us a shout out in person. Until next time.